Hey, what did you talk about this week?
Welcome back to the Corporate Kitchen. I'm your host, Tiger. This week we've been talking about goals. It's early in the year 2025 when I'm recording this episode. I bet a lot of people have New Year's resolutions. Mine specifically, I have a couple. One of them is to lose some weight. My goal is to lose 20 pounds by December 31st, 2025. So I get the entire year. If I lose a pound and a half per month, that should be really doable. I started eating better last year, so that is kind of checked off the box. I was one of those people, as I mentioned earlier, I do love Chick-fil-A. I probably went to Chick-fil-A for breakfast and lunch 3 to 4 times a week. I cut that down to once a month. I can have it. And now this year, it's really about just getting more active, moving around a little bit more. One of the things I bought this year to help support that goal is a walking pad, and I want to use it to get to 10,000 steps a day. It's been a little rough to hit that every day. It ebbs and flows depending on how the day is. I feel a lot better when I do it, but when I don't, I definitely kick myself in the head mentally because I want to stay on track. This year's really going to be about moving around a little bit more. The eating part is great. Eating better will definitely help. I know I really need to get a little bit more active and burn the calories to lose the weight. Once I get into a rhythm, losing it should be easy. And like I said, 20 pounds over the next 12 months should be doable. Well, it's February now, so whatever weight I have left, 10 months. So I'm excited. But if you have New Year's resolutions, how are you going to get to them, right? How are you going to achieve those goals so that you can check that off and say that you accomplished something? One thing that's really interesting about corporate nowadays is this movement from quantitative goals to qualitative. What do I mean by that? Before, your goals and assessment would all be quantitative, numbers based, or some grading system based. There were companies that were really, really known for cutting the bottom 5-10% of performers every year based off the grading system that they had for performance. That doesn't happen as widespread as it used to. It used to be like a large number of companies do it. Now it's like here or there. One of the reasons for that, a lot of companies have gotten away from that grading scale and implemented qualitative assessments, which makes writing goals a little more difficult because it's not a binary pass fail type of thing. It's not a grading scale from, let's say, a 5-star or a super exceeds expectations or an absolute legend to nothing, 0, below expectations, needed an improvement plan. Doesn't exist. It's more like, here's what I did, written as a paragraph, and you'll get a paragraph back. For those of you that are new to corporate America, that's how you're going to learn, through that qualitative goal setting and feedback loops. For those of you that are already been here and you are here for the quantitative portion, there's definitely a mental change of the qualitative not being as important and not being as strong as before. This has probably disconnected the whole goal setting mindset for a lot of people. If you're not making goals directly at the P&L, what am I doing, right? When this first happened to me in corporate and it was announced that we're getting out of the grading scale to just whatever paragraph you sent, I looked like everyone else, like, okay, what am I supposed to write? How am I going to be graded? We did receive some flowdown from leadership. Like, here's the director's goals. Here's management goals. try to align your goals as applicable. Like, well, there's a reason we have two different job titles, right? You're a manager, I'm an individual contributor. A lot of our goals don't mesh because it's not my responsibility to accomplish some of the things that you're looking for. Talent development, for example. My manager had a goal for talent development. I'm like, I'm not, it's not my job to develop talent. It's yours. I could support it. Yeah, absolutely. But, this is in your job responsibilities. So how do I translate that for me? And that takes us to our first action item. For your goals, do them anyway, even if the environment doesn't require them. If they don't require you to be really strict, really hard pressed, still do that. And don't do it for them. Don't do it because they want you to put it in the internal system. Do it for you. One of the goals that I identified one year, and I tried it out. This was one of those that I thought may break my career. But then again, I wasn't looking to stay at the company. So it was like, no matter. But I did put in my goals to change jobs. I wanted a new opportunity. I explained what type of opportunity I wanted. And I put that as one of my goals. When my manager saw it, person had a chuckle. They were like, really? You're going to put that? We talked about this. We talked about it last year. It didn't come to fruition. That is my goal this year. I don't want any confusion on my interviewing, my applications when I go about it because I have communicated this is my goal. Surprisingly, conversation went very well. You would be surprised when you state your intentions, how people will start to receive them, right? Even if it isn't the most desirable goal from the person that's listening, the fact that you're communicating it will get their attention and will help them understand. So do them. Just do them anyway. I definitely have to say it is harder to make the qualitative goals now, especially the end of year write-ups when it's like, hey, what did you accomplish? It's like, what did the company accomplish, right? If I accomplished everything in my puny goals and the company didn't succeed in its performance, but I'm not being graded on a scale, how do you really assess me? Oh, Tiger did his job, but our company failed all our goals. So no matter what, everyone's going to suffer from that because the company didn't do well. That's what makes it hard, where it's everyone wants to see the company succeed. Ideally, this doesn't happen, but ideally, if the company does great, then we should get raises and good bonuses, right? Doesn't always work that way. But the tether between your goals and your performance-based compensation is questionable. It's questionable in a lot of areas. There are some companies that are really still strict, like I said, to this day. Sales organizations, consultations, medical, they are performance-based, for sure. So be careful if you're in one of those industries. You will notice that your goals may be pushed a little bit more towards the quantitative level than the qualitative. And if you see yourself in that quantitative goal setting environment, your performance hinges on a number. You have a very binary assessment of, yes, you succeeded. No, you did not. However, regardless of what goals you make, whether they're personal or professional, when you achieve them, when you can officially check them off, make sure, action number 2, you celebrate your achievement. One of the most notorious things we talk about in corporate when it comes to employee engagement or employee celebration is the corporate pizza party. Oh, the team is feeling down. Let's throw a pizza party. Oh, we saved the company millions and billions of dollars. Let's throw a pizza party. As hilarious as that is and stupid, it is something. It is some level of celebration. And it's a lot more celebration that is done by people sometimes. Think of the last goal that you accomplished. Think of the last time you set a goal. No matter how big or how small, when you accomplished that goal, did you celebrate it? Did you do something for you to say, I did it? Doesn't have to be large, doesn't have to be small. It tends to favor the larger goals for your mind to consciously say, we need to do something. Getting married, having children, for some people getting divorced, for some people opening a business, the largest goals, people don't tend to forget to celebrate. We see this all the time on TV when a major league sports team, whether it's the NBA, MLB, NFL, wins a big game. It's not just the Super Bowl, the World Series, or the finals. It's also the championship series, the conference championship series. It's also when they win their division, the large achievements, right? They'll celebrate. They'll celebrate, pop champagne bottles, and they will celebrate that victory right then and there. Do you see them celebrating the regular season wins? Right? Let's take the NFL, for example. This past season, which by the time this episode releases, we will have a Super Bowl winner. My gut right now is on the Kansas City Refs beating the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl. We'll see. It's the conference championship weekend when I'm recording this episode right now. So by the time it's released, we'll have a Super Bowl winner. Let's see if I'm right. But let's take this NFL season, for example. And one team I want to highlight is the Atlanta Falcons. They started off strong, 6-3, but missed the playoffs because they flatlined the second half of the season. What's funny about them that I want to highlight is they were celebrating some of their wins like it was the Super Bowl. Like, what are you guys doing? I believe they beat the Buccaneers in overtime the second time they played them. And they went crazy. Like, they celebrated that win like they just won the division. And meanwhile, it was barely halfway into the season. Like, guys, it's comical on some level because in our minds, it's like, hey, don't forget about the bigger picture. In reality, though, that's the type of behavior you want to see. You want to see people that celebrate their achievements. You want to see people that are happy when success comes their way. Obviously, it's not the end goal, but that intermediate, I won a few games, I won a big game, let me celebrate it. Don't forget to do that. I remember when I first got my first big internship. I interned at 2 different companies during my collegiate years. When I got that call that I was the person that they chose to do, the person that they chose out of their hiring process to be their intern, I celebrated that achievement that night. I called up my buddy. I said, hey, we need to have some cornhole. And at the time, it was Friday. So cornhole, Shane's, Rib Shack, and we had some drinks. And I celebrated it that day because I was very happy of that achievement. And for me, it was more about checking that box because I already had an internship. So it wasn't like, oh, I need this one in order to really round out my resume or to really get the experience that I need, because apparently bachelor's not good enough. You need like 5 years of experience just to get entry-level jobs now. For me, it was, I tried, and I knew it was a very competitive pool of people to get this role. I didn't know that it will help boost my career before it even got fully started. And I knew that the people that worked there were really good. So when they called and I got it, I was like, oh, this is great. Like, I really hit my achievement, and that felt great. When I graduated college, doing the job search to figure out where I was going to work after college, I did a lot of interviews. And I did get a lot of offers from some places. I still celebrated getting those offers, even with the places that I learned at the interview stage I was not going to go work for that company. There were a couple companies that I interviewed at. Great people, great product. The role was decent, but the long-term objectives and the short-term incentives didn't really align to what I was seeking at the time. So it wasn't a perfect fit, and that was okay. I still celebrated the fact that I got an offer from that company. It let me know that, hey, number one, I'm doing something right. It feels good to feel wanted. Absolutely. Number two, I achieved my goal. When you're coming out of college, you're going to college in order to start your career. Even if you're doing like research based, right? If you're getting your PhD, you're going to come out and start doing research, something, right? The goal was to get a job. That's what I went to engineering school for. And to get an offer says I achieved it. Even though I didn't accept it, I still achieved my goal of getting an offer and getting a job. So I celebrated that. That was super exciting for me. Don't forget to celebrate yours. However big or small, you did it. I mean, it's not a stretch to say, go walk into the mirror in your bathroom and give yourself a round of applause. It's not arrogance. It's not selfishness. It's literally you taking care of you. And only you can take care of you the best. So take care of yourself, celebrate your achievement, and don't forget to treat yourself. The last action that we're going to talk about is wanting your goals. There is a lot of corporations that will flow down goals and objectives to teams. You'll hear from your management, you must have these goals in your plan. You read them. It's like, I do not care. We do not care, said Mike Tomlin. That's going to happen, and that's okay. Doesn't mean you have to want them, right? If they're the goals that you have to put in there and just not interested in it, understood, right? Because it's not really your goals. It's something that you're being forced to do. Got it. When you do your goals, find a way to want them. If you don't want it to happen, you're not going to be interested in doing it. I know some people may say, well, if you're in management and they say you have to sell 100 units, that's your goal, and you don't want to do that, they're going to fire you at the end of the day for not achieving your goal and for poor performance. My response to that is, if you didn't want to do it, why are you there? If you're not aligned to the goals of the organization and the goals required at your level, right? Because if you're in management, obviously you can't have the same level of goals as individual contributors under you. Yours are going to have a little bit more intensity. They pay you more for that, and you probably get some performance-based incentive for that. Money talks. Most of us want money. If you're listening to this podcast and you don't want money, call me. It sounds like you got money to share. I will gladly take a donation on this podcast. But the majority of us want money. If you're getting performance-based goals, you more than likely are going to want to achieve those goals so that you can receive your performance-based compensation. So at that point, you're going to want to do the goals. However, if they flow down and you're like, I don't want to do this, it sounds like you don't even want the job. It sounds like you're just doing the job. And if you don't want them, are you really going to put in the effort required to achieve them? One of the famous quotes, going back to the NFL, one of the most famous quotes I know from Vince Lombardi, Hall of Fame coach, is, if you aren't fired up with enthusiasm, you will be fired with enthusiasm. And that holds true to what I just said. If you're not excited about what you're about to do to achieve the goals that you set, if you're not excited to work on, and I get it. Come on. A job's a job, right? Some of you are just in a job to make money. Got it. Going back to the sometimes, well, how would I put this? Going back to the mindset of, if the company does well, you should do well. That's most of our beliefs of, if we help the company to succeed, they will flow some of that down. Of course, the slice of the pie that we get as non-executives are, do they even use a knife to get our slice? They probably just use an infant spoon to get our little slice out. However, the thought still stays of, we help the company helps us. That incentive-based mindset should drive us to wanting our goals. And if you want it, you'll put in the effort to do it. Going back to what we talked about Tuesday in the kitchen, goals, per definition, require effort and time. You got to put in some level of effort. If you don't desire it, you can't really give your best effort. And if you do desire it, you may exceed 100% in effort. And that's good. With that being said, I pray and hope that you do put in 100% or more effort, and the company gives it back to you more than 100%. I got to speak it into existence. I'm going to try to manifest it. You will put in an effort for your goals. The company will pay you back for it. Speaking into existence right now. So let's get that raise. Let's get this money, and you will prosper. Because here at the Corporate Kitchen, although we're talking about the basics, we're talking about the fundamentals so that you can strive to be Hall of Fame. Once we get these fundamentals down, you're good. You go thrive. And we're going to be watching, because when you become a Hall of Famer, we're going to be like, I was there. I was there for the beginning, and I knew that you were going to strive because you listened. For my household specifically, one of the things that my wife has us do for our goals is to write them down. We have in our kitchen a, what do you call those things? A dry erase board calendar on the wall. And in the notes section on the right-hand side, we wrote out our goals for 2025. She wrote hers, I wrote mine. She's also really big into making sure we have check-ins on our goals. So not only do we have to write them down so that they're householdly public, she does a lot of check-ins. She's like, hey, how's your savings goal? Hey, let's step on the scale. Let's see how your weight goal is going. Hey, how's your movement goal going? Or during the day, she'll say, what do you need me to do so that you can get your 10,000 steps in? Hey, I know you didn't get your steps in yet. When do you want to do them? I have to say, one, I love her so much for that. Thanks for being so supportive. But two, having someone else want your goals as much as you do helps tremendously. I'm using my household, for example, to lay the spread. But the next layer of this goes into the business. When you are in corporate, we talked about how aligning goals is much harder than making them. If you make your goals and you want them, that's great. You align them and you make others want them too. Golden, right? That is the next step in this process of, once you make your goals and you want them, now you're going to have to influence others to want them as well so that you can make that alignment. That's influencing. That's the much harder skill set. That's the 401 level class. And it's what leadership does all the time. If you ever had a question about what do executives do, that's one of their major jobs. They get handed down a required objective. They know they can't do it on their own. They're not supposed to because they're a leader. A lot of times, it's within their own function. So hypothetically, let's say operations, you have a target to deliver this many units. All the functions within operations, because there's different disciplines within the operations function, require some alignment to that goal. They all have different steps. So one level of alignment is, let's back up. You're the leader, you get the flow down goals, you're required to deliver this many units. As a leader, we can cut the BS now. As the leader, you want them because your performance-based compensation is like through the roof, right? These executives, we know executives get paid. So let's not even pretend like, oh, well, what if they don't want it? You know how much they getting paid? They want it. They gonna get it, right? So they want their goals. Now they're up to the next task, influencing, trying to align those objectives across the enterprise for everyone that needs to support it. They start with their own function and get them to align. And then they may have to reach across to their peers' functions and try to get their alignment as well. So think about that. Vertical and horizontal alignment. I have to get everyone that reports to me, which could be anywhere from, let's say, 3 to 12 different disciplines of operations, and everyone that reports in those disciplines to align to this. Plus, I may need my senior vice president of engineering to align to this so that his organization can support, the senior vice president of program management to support. I may need the vice president of quality because they don't report to me to support. And that's the horizontal part where you have to get now all those other functions who are ran by your peers to support your goals and want it as much as you do. That's the next level to this. Once you get to making your own goals and wanting them, influencing others to make them want it too, that's hard. And if you can achieve it, it makes it a lot easier to make your goals. If you have multiple people supporting a singular goal, it makes it a lot easier because you have more hands to help fix or to help drive the solution. Sometimes more hands in the kitchen isn't great. If we're cooking and you're cooking up a storm and someone's like, oh, let me come in and help. You know, that side eye that you give, like, give me my space, I'm good. That doesn't mean they can't help. It doesn't mean that you're going to lose total efficiency. You just may need alignment on a different level. Hey, go set the table or wash the dishes. I have this goal of cooking, but I know that as the chef, I'm going to have to host, going to have to figure out what we're going to have after. So go make the coffee, right? Don't bother me in this action that supports the goal. Go support the goal in a different way. And that sometimes is required in the corporate environment where you're trying to make that alignment and it's like, I don't need you to help me on this action. I need you to help me in this other way. Last story alert. I was at a company one time and the people that hear this story and that know exactly what I'm talking about, TC, I'm talking to you because I know you're listening. You're gonna get a chuckle out of this. I was at a company one time where we had a piece of paper on the wall in our conference room that tracked our receipts. The definition for receipts in this case is the material that we got delivered from our supplier, received in. It couldn't just be delivered. Our company had to physically receive in the material and check that mark as a receipt for the month. We had a goal of the number of units that we wanted to get received in every month for a specific part number, whole bunch of different part numbers. But for the purposes of this conversation, in this example, I'm only going to talk about one part number in particular. I believe the goal was somewhere around like 4,500 units was the goal for this part number. Standard, I don't remember which month it was, but standard month, let's call it, standard month is 30 days. Let's call it 30 days. We got through day 15 of that month, and we weren't even halfway through. We were definitely going to hockey stick this. If you're not familiar with the hockey stick approach with operations, it's when the beginning of the month is flat, and then towards the very end, it spikes up physically like the shape of a hockey stick. That's how deliveries were going to be this month. And that's what we communicated. So it got to the last week of the month, and we needed to deliver a solid 1,500 to 2,000 units left that last week in order to reach the goal. Leadership was seriously pounding down in our group because they needed those units. Everyone was focused, daily tracking. One of the most annoying things of corporate America is the inability to perform to goals usually creates more meetings, usually creates more oversight and a lot more hands in the kitchen. When in reality, like we were saying earlier, if I'm making pancakes, once the pancake is poured, no additional hands can help me. You can't help me. So adding 7 more people in the kitchen to provide oversight to flipping a pancake is pretty much worthless. You're going to enter those situations all the time if you're in an area that isn't performing to their goals, right? It's annoying, but it is what it is for corporate. So we're having daily meetings on it, and we're tracking it last week of the month as we get closer and closer. The last weekend, there's 2 suppliers that provide this part number. It's me and one of my peers that support this supplier. Basically, it came down to we're going to have to work over the weekend to really track this material and ensure that it leaves our supplier's facility and gets to the company so that they can receive it in. We both work the whole weekend, and we're texting, we're communicating it. The person that was the peer in the situation, I hope you're listening to this so we can reminisce about this, because this was, what a weekend. We were texting the whole weekend. Hey, how's it going? Hey, what is your supplier doing? Making sure that we reach the goal. Both of our suppliers ship overnight the required number of material needed to hit our goal. They ship it. It gets to the dock of our company Sunday, last day of the month. It is physically on site. We communicate that it's physically on site. We both text each other. We're like, done. It's sitting at the company. We're good. High five. Let's celebrate this achievement by going to sleep. I get to celebrate by turning the laptop off and going to sleep. We come to work Monday and we check the system, SAP, and the parts have not been received in. So we didn't hit our goal. I came to the morning meeting so mad. And there were a couple reasons for that, right? The main reason is because everything made me angry at that time. But 2, we worked so hard to achieve a goal. We believe that leadership desired this goal so much that they had alignment across all the other functions. I believe that because of that alignment, they were going to support us reaching that goal no matter what. To have the part sit on the dock overnight and no one received it in felt like a slap in the face. It felt like we wanted the goal, we worked our butt off for the goal, but you guys didn't want it. But you're going to whine, you're going to cry, you're going to complain that the goal wasn't reached. But you're not going to support it getting completed? Like that doesn't seem to add up. in my head. It wasn't adding up. You want the goal, but you're not going to support making the goal happen. And to me, that was a problem. That was one of the biggest problems I had in that organization, where people pretended they wanted goals and that they were aligned to supporting. What they really wanted, who knows? I'm not going to speculate on that. I'm not going to speak for them. But I did lose a level of trust in the organization because of what I perceive to be a false sense of desire in that goal. I bring up that story to say, be careful. Be careful on alignment. Again, we're talking about a lot about you making goals and wanting your own goals. When it gets to that alignment step and you're trying to align it either vertically or horizontally across the organization, you can enter some trouble because that has to do with influencing, and influencing is a constant active skill set that, again, is much harder than what you do by yourself. So if you didn't hear anything about goals in this episode, just remember what we talked about on Tuesday. It's easier to make them than it is to align them. Oh, I just remembered. I should tell you about...
Hey, you said last story. Can you wrap this up?
Oof. Okay. I enjoyed working on this menu item with you this week, but let's come to an end while it's still hot. Remember, the ending to one story is the beginning of another. There will be more in store next week at the Corporate Kitchen. Thanks for listening. I'm your host, Tiger. Until next time.